Welcome to One Up Fantasy, helping you one up the fantasy football competition. For the latest in Chicago sports news, visit ChiCitySports.com. And now, here are the hosts of One Up Fantasy, Stephen Johnson and Chris Jackle. Kaboom!
Greetings and salutations, one and all. Welcome into another episode of One Up Fantasy here on ChiCitySports.com and the Tape Never Lies Network. I'm Stephen Johnson. He is Chris Jackle. We have a Bears coach. We have a Bears GM. It's happy time for the most part in Bears land.
Except on Bears Twitter, but
except on Bears Twitter. And so bridging the gap between that and the fantasy realm as we enter the lovely offseason, there's always something to talk about. But nevertheless, it's been a good week so far. How you doing, Mr. Jackle?
Doing all right, Mr. Johnson. Here we are. It's Wednesday. I know you got a big snowstorm coming your way, as we were talking about before we jumped on here. So it'll give you plenty of time to hunker down and do some fantasy rankings and all that kind of fun stuff, or or spend time with your family, which is probably more important.
Sleep or nap, or
that's a thing of beauty. If you can kind of con one of the kids, hey, let's watch a movie on the couch, and next thing you know, everyone's sleeping. It's a win-win. But hey, it's Wednesday. It's one up time. It's fantasy.
If it's Wednesday already, I'm in trouble.
Oh my God. I keep saying Wednesday. Shit. It's Tuesday. That tells you where I'm at. When you haven't been at work in 3 weeks, I haven't been at work in 3 weeks, dude. So it's kind of like my days are blending together.
It's kind of nice not having to worry about any of that type of stuff. But, it's one thing after another. It all builds up. You feel like you're going crazy.
Let me tell you.
Been there, done that, right? But
we
got plenty to talk about. Yeah, we got plenty to talk about tonight. We're going to talk some quarterback rankings heading into 2022, the redraft side of things, in terms of who's bringing what to the table. The surprising news this week, or maybe not surprising news, after it got leaked everywhere and a certain future Hall of Fame quarterback got pissed. Tom Brady officially retires after leading the league in yards and touchdowns. A hell of a final season to go out the way that he did. Still a little disappointed he fell short of my 5,050 touchdowns. He came close. He was on pace there for a while. But nevertheless, one of the biggest names in the NFL now out of the league and out of the fantasy picture. And so that quarterback pool dries up a little bit based on that situation. We'll start off with some trivia here, though, to start this.
Shit. Okay.
I want to see if you can get this, and maybe our viewers in the comments can get this as well. There are now 5. That's it. 5 active quarterbacks who have won a Super Bowl as a starting quarterback. Who are they?
Oh my God.
There's some easy ones here.
Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I am
Think local.
Local?
Yeah.
What's local for me or you?
The team on your head.
Why am I missing this? Help me out. Shit.
Who's the backup quarterback in Chicago?
Oh, Nick Foles. Jesus Christ. I'm a fucking idiot. That's why you don't do drugs, people.
There's 3. Can you get the other 2?
Russell Wilson didn't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did. What do you get out of here?
Oh,
that's number 4.
That's number 4.
You will never get number 5.
No, I'll let you fill me in because that was just embarrassing. So go ahead.
The elite, Joe Flacco.
God damn it. Yeah.
Those are the only 5 quarterbacks in the NFL with a Super Bowl victory as a starter.
Which is wild because if you add Brady to that list,
Yeah, I mean, there's, 7 of the last 20.
Yeah. Just goes to show how dominant that dude was, man. And, I heard a thing today about, the whole Mahomes Brady conversation about like the GOAT status or whatever. Mahomes would have to be in a Super Bowl every other year for the next 14 years to catch Brady, and just in terms of appearances in the Super Bowl, not let alone win them. So, it's pretty crazy just to think that we witnessed that in our time. Not many times you get a chance to see the GOAT. We witnessed MJ. I'm older than you, I believe. So, I was a little, you still remember MJ.
Hey, I enjoyed the MJ years.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't try and date me here.
I'm not diminishing it, but I'm just saying, we've witnessed two of the some GOATs, but it was sad. But fuck Schefter for trying to be the guy that broke the story. Brady's a guy that deserved to do it on his own terms. It's just unfortunate. He didn't have a farewell tour, which I thought was just an OG move. I'm just gonna go out, deuces. I'm gonna go spend time with my family and keep it moving, man.
I wasn't expecting that. I definitely wasn't expecting that, but to each their own. And I think he put together about 20 pages of thank yous. One of which was not the Patriots, but
tomorrow. There's rumors out here that 10 o'clock press conference in New England, 1-day contract he's going to sign and then retire. New England Patriot tomorrow at 10.
It wouldn't shock me if that were the case, but maybe that's why he didn't mention anything online about the Patriots. He'd rather do it in person.
Dude, everyone got so upset, Stephen. They were like, "What the fuck? You're leaving New England out?" Da, da, da. Maybe there was this guy's so calculated. You don't think that he would have just put that in the works? It's like, come on, man. It's just like Bears Twitter with fucking Harbaugh and the Vikings. Everyone's freaking the fuck out, and it's like, dude. He didn't want to. I mean, if it was that big of a deal to him, he would have made his interest known, and it wasn't. So get over it and fucking. We got our coach and GM. Fuck Harbaugh and fuck the Vikings. Fuck the Packers and the Lions. We're taking over the North, right?
Absolutely.
And sorry for cursing.
You're gonna apologize now after all these months. But all the talk about quarterbacks and everything in between. Want to break down what the current lay of the land is at the quarterback position heading into 2022 and who leads the pack in that regard and who might be some of the more surprising names. In 2021, it was a position that a lot of people could sit back on in their fantasy drafts and pick up some pretty good value later on, a la Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow. The list goes on, where there were, you didn't necessarily have to spend the capital to get your Kyler Murrays, your Patrick Mahomes, your Josh Allen. Again, speaking right there, that's a solid list of 7 or 8 names that make you think, damn, there's a lot that goes into this position. And again, looking towards next year, does it seem like to you that it is once again a position that you don't necessarily have to freak out about, kind of like a tight end position type situation where once that top talent is gone, you're screwed?
Well, it's tough because there's a few rookie quarterbacks that we expect to make somewhat of a jump from last year to this year. I think Zach Wilson could actually make a pretty, I don't want to say a sizable leap, but he had moments where I just was somewhat of impressed. It's the Jets though. It's Bob Saleh. Their offense is just, there's no weapons, but it's similar to like the Bears. There's no offensive weapons outside of Montgomery and Justin Fields, and I'm not diminishing Mooney, but I guess I just did there. But what I'm getting at is in terms of fantasy relevance, like there's a few guys still, I thought Kyler Murray was that guy this year that was going to be one of the guys you actually went and got. I targeted him. It paid off for one league, but I was just lucky and I snuck in. But outside of that, I think Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, I know Murray and Herbert are like 3 and 4, depending, or 2 and 3 and 4, depending on where you are or what rankings you look at. But I don't know. I think outside of with Brady retiring, I think the status quo is still, or it's still the same with respects to your draft strategy. If you can get Mahomes or if you can get Josh Allen early and he falls in your lap, but outside of that, play it cool and go with your typical strategy. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I don't see anybody else really making that leap where I want to go and overdraft or reach for.
There's definitely some concerns. I'm sorry, I have to share this. There's definitely some concerns among the top quarterbacks as well heading into this year that kind of have me a little bit timid in terms of what they might necessarily put up as stats in 2022. You look at Josh Allen, he's dealing with a brand new offensive regime in Buffalo after Brian Daboll heads to New York.
Yeah.
Is that going to make some effects there? Ken Dorsey of Miami Hurricane fame, now the offensive coordinator in Buffalo. What kind of situation we're going to see there? Patrick Mahomes, Orlando Brown, potential Bears target in free agency. We'll see. But if he leaves, what happens to that offensive line in terms of trying to keep Patrick Mahomes upright instead of a collapse of epic proportions like we saw in the Super Bowl 1 year ago against Tampa Bay? Kyler Murray, we saw what he was without DeAndre Hopkins. It wasn't pretty. Are they going to make any moves there? And then you have Justin
Kirk's a
Herbert,
free agent, I think, too. I believe so.
Absolutely,
they got some shoes to fill in. Their running backs are all free agents too in Arizona.
Yep. And so, again, you look at three of the top names there and you think to yourself, there's some serious situations that could really impact what these guys can put up from a fantasy perspective. Really, the first safe haven for me is Justin Herbert out of the top options, where you have a guy that's got this offense in place. Yes, Mike Williams is a free agent, but Mike Williams kind of tapered off there midway through the year after getting off to a pretty hot start. And still, Justin Herbert was able to put up some pretty electric stats. And he's got some younger wide receivers, Josh Palmer. He's got a pretty young tight end assortment as well that he can pass to, along with Keenan Allen and obviously Austin Eckler, who's the do-it-all back there in Los Angeles. And so really, I mean, that's the guy for me where I start to think, okay, here's where I'm comfortable taking a quarterback with my fantasy teams, because really, even beyond that, Lamar Jackson, I don't know what to make of him. I really don't, because I tell you, after the bye week this year, he turned into nothing. Like,
he got hurt
it was
too.
brutal.
Yeah.
Right. And again, you look at these guys with the rushing upside, and I saw a comment earlier up here from Noah. Got to look at the rushing upside these days. Obviously Jalen Hurts, one of the big ones, and he's been one of those guys that's kind of all over the place in terms of where he's being ranked. But the same thing with Lamar Jackson, where you have this much mileage on a guy's legs who's willing to take off and run with the ball, and the durability factor coming into play, that, that's something that you really need to keep in mind, especially if they're not going to surround him with the offensive weapons that they probably should. And you can say, yeah, well, they drafted Rashad Bateman. Yeah, they have Hollywood Brown. Yeah, they have Mark Andrews. But that running game is still kind of in shambles now that you hopefully get J.K. Dobbins back. But it's just so much unknown. Aaron Rodgers, unknown. For all we know, Aaron Rodgers vaults to the top of this list if he ends up getting traded off to Denver. There's just so much volatility. I mean, you just go down the list. And it's like, how comfortable can you be with these guys? I mean, I guess across the lines here, I'm just looking at the top 10. So top 10 right now on Fantasy Pros, not necessarily our top 10. But we have Allen, Mahomes, Murray, Herbert, Jackson, Burrow, Rodgers, Prescott, Stafford, Wilson. Yeah. Out of those, Stafford, Prescott, Burrow, and Herbert are the four, I think, most unaffected year to year. And people can argue Mahomes because he's still going to have Hill. He's still going to have Kelsey.
I would have to add him to that list, Stephen, in my opinion. I would put Mahomes in there with it. I just, even as of down a year he had, he was still top 10 in like almost every statistical category for, in terms of, fantasy points. I mean, he still put up good numbers, but you are right. I mean, it wasn't Mahomes type statistics, but it was still a shitty year for him. I mean, it's all his fucking brother and his fucking wife's fault, but but to that point, like, I think he's going to bounce back. They kept their coaching staff intact pretty much, but they lose the offensive line help. I think, I'm just going to say, I think Poles is going to go after it. I think he's going to try to land the big fish, and that's going to be the big money ticket is, they're going to try to go through the draft, like you said, for a weapon for Fields. And I know we're kind of speaking out of turn here, but, if they could pull that off, that would be amazing, and move Borum and Jenkins to the same side and just fucking dominate, whatever, but anyway.
Dream scenarios all around. Dream scenarios.
You bring up a point about Justin Herbert real quick. And so before I forget, Mike Williams is a free agent, yep. and so they do have some availability to possibly move some money around and make some moves, and they could land another weapon out there, whether it's a speed guy or possession receiver like a guy like Mike, or re-sign Mike Williams. But I think he was just trying to play for that bag, in my opinion. But like a lot of free agents kind of do try to get that last one. You just go ahead.
Well, and it's funny, that trying to go after some of these free agents. They are second in cap space.
Yeah,
$58 million they have to work with.
Think about that. I mean, that's and they're right there. They're knocking on the door. They're knocking on the door to that next step in terms of like NFL relevance and playoffs. And I mean, they should have made it this year. They could have made it this year. Staley fucked them, and some inexperience, but I still think they're right there. So with the cap space, a young core, a rookie contract on a quarterback, you can do some things in the NFL. And so, that's a great point with the cap space, so I like Herbert. I think he's the guy. He might be hitting a home run with that one, Stephen.
And I think we might have some ideas for later on here when we talk about some perfect potential scenarios in potential free agents. Again, 44 days, free agency opens. That's it. 44 days. Yeah. It's weird to think it's already February, but here we are talking about that potential as well. But going up and down this list for you, and I know we talked about a couple names. We'll get to some of the other names that are kind of floating around that 10 to 20 range, depending on where you might see them at. But in terms of the top three, if you had to rank the top three as is right now, heading into next year, what would they be for you?
You're talking in the next tier or top three overall?
For 2022, quarterback 1, 2, and 3 in your drafts. How are you ranking them and why?
I think Josh Allen speaks for itself, right? I think I think Ken Dorsey slides in. I'm not saying he's Brian Daboll, but the tutelage under Daboll, he was able to learn from him. I could see a little bit of a drop off, but if they implement the run game a little more, even though they were 6th in rushing, and it's a little bit of a skewed stat because Allen runs a lot, that last year, I think Allen's still deservingly of that top spot. Patrick Mahomes, and I actually like Justin Herbert over Kyler Murray. And I also like Joe Burrow over Lamar Jackson. So, and a lot of like Fantasy Pros has Burrow 6, Jackson 5, and Herbert 4, with Murray number 3. But I'm going to go Allen, Mahomes, and Justin Herbert for my top 3. Now, I feel that you're very similar there, but I don't know if you go. I think you're probably right on track with me on that, right?
Yeah, I'm going to shift things around a little bit. I would say that there's still those 3 as the top 3 for me, just in a little bit different of an order. I sat here and I bashed him a little bit because his offensive line might be a little bit mush. I'm still mind blown that they're Pro Bowl / All Pro left tackle that they paid a 1st round pick for might walk after a year. That's still like
crazy,
blowing my mind that they literally just wasted a 1st round pick for potentially a year of Orlando Brown. However, I am going to put Patrick Mahomes at 1st overall there. I do think, outside of that offensive line concern, that there still is that consistency there from him and the way that he did pick things up as the season went on, after it looked a little bit iffy there after 6 weeks, and what he could potentially bring to the table. And if, there was, I think a lot of people just kind of cheering almost for a falter to happen in Kansas City. I know a lot of people were on Sunday as well, with Cincinnati getting the best of them, but never
on people being a bunch of assholes on fucking TikTok and shit. Yeah, fuck off with all that shit. No offense, but I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
It fucking drives me crazy, dude. I swear, man. If I was Patrick Mahomes, I wouldn't even let him come to the fucking game. Just be like, dude, watch it from home. Make your TikToks over there, and you know what, dude? Go fuck yourself, man. I love Mahomes. I think he's amazing, and the football gods are just like, dude, fucking smarten up. Russell Wilson did the same shit. He found Sierra and fucking made out like a bandit, and I just go find yourself somebody and he's happy, he's married, whatever, fucking cares. And I kid, but at the same time, football guys are shining down on him saying, dude, sorry, buddy, make some better choices in life.
Hey, he tries his best to stay as far away from home for as long as he can.
I'm just going to ask a football question. You watching that game on Sunday, right? And that when Herbert came in after that, when he held the ball, he had all that time, and he actually fumbled the ball, and I know Kansas City recovered it, and I at that moment I'm like, dude, Mahomes is shook. Like I was so surprised at his like composure, and it was just odd to me, and I felt like that, against Buffalo the week before, 13 seconds, and it was like a completely different. It was just wild, and I didn't know if their defense did that great to really get under his skin. It was just crazy. It was unbelievable. What are your thoughts? I mean, I know you still have him number one, but was it just the defense, or was he just having a bad night?
It was a little shocking, to say the least, especially when it gets out to a 21-3 lead and you think, all right, well, this is, punishment for us getting 4 great games the week before. I really don't know what the deal was that caused that entire situation to unfold. Tyreek Hill kind of disappeared as well, where he got off to a relatively hot start. And I think really it was that last drive of the first half where they botched it, didn't get the field goal at a bare minimum. And from there, it just unraveled for them. Like all the air had been let out of the balloon and they just had no idea what to do. Like that was just the confidence killer. And, again, you look at it from the Bengals side as well. When you have the Chiefs knocking on the door like that, and I don't want to say that, from their perspective, the Chiefs probably looked cocky to go for it and do that and to stop them. I mean, that's just
an awful throw too. That was just a bad play all around.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to get that adrenaline shot in the arm for the Bengals defense. And really, you got to give them credit for as well as they played as well. And how many snaps that Patrick Mahomes took the ball. And I mean, literally, it felt like forever he was holding on to the ball and just could not get rid of it. And you're sitting there thinking, there's got to be somebody open. Hardman, Hill, Kelsey, you're telling
Pringle,
me for
you name
6, 7, 8 seconds that he can't find an open receiver? Like that I think that was the most mind-blowing thing to me about the entire situation. And again, credit to the Bengals, and they've been given some grief in the secondary for how they've handled things so far.
Eli Apple, especially.
Eli
better on Twitter than he is on fucking the field, but he came up with a big play when it mattered.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is something that the Chiefs are going to need to go back to. And I actually see it right here.
Yeah,
I just stole it right from me. Is getting back to the basics that time and time again, everyone expects these big plays out of Patrick Mahomes and that offense. And the fact that it seemed like they just could not get into that rhythm when it mattered at specific times in specific games and specific scenarios, that, it's just one of those things where get back to the basics. Don't always be looking to chuck it 20 yards down the field and allow your, offense to just work as it is, the Andy Reid offense. And a lot of people can argue that, Andy Reid has a history of, folding under pressure in these situations. I'm not necessarily sold on that. I think it's just a matter of just tweaking some things here and there. And I don't see
got away from the run too.
Say it again.
They got away from the run in the second half also, and it was just both teams last weekend did the same thing, and it kind of killed them. It's just they I think allowing that offense to unfold and just following it the way it should be gone instead of looking for those big plays. I think you're hitting the nail on the head on that. And I think getting back to the basics is what they need to do. They probably will. But they have some things they need to figure out over there, because Mahomes, and not for nothing, but Mahomes' contract kicks in next year. And if
it's going to be bad.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things that they're going to have to talk about, like legit. And that's the KC could be in some trouble, man. And, unless Mahomes realizes and saw what Brady did for so long, and, you can't win. I mean, I guess you can win having a $45 million a year quarterback in the NFL. But it's not as easy as it is. Roster manipulation and all that shit is tough when you're paying one dude that much money. And I think he's, what's it, like $50 million? I forget. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it's 10 years, $500 million or whatever.
Yeah. So his Patrick Mahomes cap hit for 2022 is $35 million. So it's an absurd number. Chris Jones is at 29 million. So you got there is a large cluster of players that make up a very large percentage of the cap. I'm going to do math in my head here. I believe 60%, maybe even higher than that, of the Chiefs 2022 cap is made up of Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Tyreek Hill, and Joe Thuney. So you have a one guard, two defensive linemen, a wide receiver, and a quarterback make up like over 60% of the salary cap there. And so again, that's a that's a hell of a number to try and get over. And so a lot of people want to argue that there really hasn't been that wide receiver 2 in Kansas City because Mecole Hardman never turned into that.
They tried it with Sammy Watkins. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it really never got anywhere. And so the question becomes, can they fulfill that need on this team in the draft? Again, we talked last week about a lot of the wide receivers and that there's some depth that could be seen in both the first and the second rounds that they could take advantage of in this situation. Whether or not they'll do it is to be determined because they also need some help in the secondary as well. Then again, who doesn't need help in the secondary with as pass happy as this league has become? But at the same time, I think that opportunity exists just for him to remain consistent and kind of solidify himself as to why he is the best quarterback in the league next year. So I've got him at 1. 2, I'm going Justin Herbert at 2. I am very high on Justin Herbert. I always have been. I always will be. The fact that he followed up such a brilliant rookie campaign with a spectacular sophomore campaign. And again, we talked about the free agent dollars that they do have to work with. They still have Herbert under that rookie deal, and there is still plenty of time to go out and get some solid weapons beyond what they had in 2021, specifically upgrading Mike Williams to really take it to the next level, in addition to adding some core pieces on the defensive side of the ball as well. And then Josh Allen is my number 3. I just worry about that complete turnover of the offensive staff in Buffalo. There's just something about it that does not sit well with me. I'm not really sure what the rest of that wide receiver core is going to look like beyond Stephon Diggs, because Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders ain't going to cut it. I mean, yes, Gabe Davis is there. I think they're going to cut
Beasley, speaking of cut it, but
yeah, exactly. Gabe Davis, he's there. He had a hell of the end of the season, but again, that's another team that's really up against that salary cap as well.
Paying a quarterback big bucks.
Exactly, just how many moves they can make in order to improve that. And so just the unknowns there, it's a little bit unsettling for me. I don't think he's as much of a consensus as that he's been made out to be, despite the overall solid season. He was the QB1. I mean, you can't deny that fact. But that's a lot to look at in terms of what is going to be in place in Buffalo in 2022. So, we talked about these top 3. Beyond the top 10, there is a interesting list that could easily find their way into top 10, maybe top 5 consideration if you want to get fancy with some potential predictions here. But just to name off a few, you mentioned Zach Wilson. Fantasy Pros has him as QB 23.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, if he's going to get the Brian Daboll rub, is at
27?
quarterback 27. But then you have all of these other quarterbacks that are knocking on the door of the top 10. Jalen Hurts, obviously, with a fantastic 2021 and the rushing upside that we've talked about here already, is at quarterback 11.
12. I fucking Trey Lance.
Trey Lance at quarterback 12. Trey Lance.
Yeah.
They're kicking Jimmy G out the door. He's gone. Here comes Trey Lance running that run-heavy scheme going on in San Francisco. Not really sure about that. Just behind him, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
What's happening with Deshaun Watson?
Lucky number 13 for Deshaun Watson.
Not sure how much is going to be lucky about that if we ever get a
Jimmy G's getting traded to Green Bay. I'm just calling it right now.
Oh.
For Aaron Rodgers.
Really?
That's my call.
That's a bold prediction.
Mm-hmm. And he can Trey Lance can sit behind Rodgers for a year or two and take over when when Rodgers rides off into the sunset after fucking blowing it in the playoffs again. So whatever. I'm just saying.
Actually winning games for the Niners while on the Niners.
Yeah. It's something different. Him and Robbie Gould can have some things to talk about,
It was the plan all along.
Yes.
But beyond that, I mean, Kirk Cousins with the fantastic touchdown to interception ratio last year, now apparently getting Harbaugh as his coach.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Obviously,
cool.
Still some solid weapons with Justin Jefferson there and Dalvin Cook running the ball in that scheme. Justin Fields at number 15 with the brand new offensive staff. Maybe Joe Brady as his quarterback coach. We may find out soon enough. But again, an offensive staff and hopefully some additional weapons to look at there.
He's our guy. I love it.
Then Ryan Tannehill at 16, Mac Jones at 17, Tua at 18. I think the Tua train is leaving the station relatively quick. But then wrapping it up in the teens, Trevor Lawrence. And whether or not the rookie season was a fluke and it was just the Urban Meyer experiment gone bad, and he's going to bounce back, maybe under the tutelage of Byron Leftwich.
He's not Jacksonville. No. He's not going there. It's going to be Doug Peterson, man. Dude, Leftwich, I think, said it's me or Ballack or whatever the fucking clown's guy's name is, and they are now interviewing more candidates, which is just wild. And now with Bruce Arians probably going to retire. Why would he want to stick around for that? Why wouldn't Leftwich just step right at, take over there?
Take the Sean Payton route and see you later. I got my ring. What else do I have?
Thanks, Tommy. You're out. I'm out too. Have fun. I'll see you on the beach, bro. Roll a fat one and give me a drink and let's go hang out and have some fun, man. Watch the kids throw the football out at the water. I actually can't do all that together. It depends what state you're in, but anyway, I just still can't get over fucking Trey Lance in the top 20. It just blows my fucking mind, and Derek Carr 20 just kills me. Jimmy G 26, now we're getting in the weeds here, but I got Mitchell Trubisky's going to probably start over one of these guys on this list here, in my opinion. And so
really,
I think he could beat Daniel Jones, or he could go to.
I like the opportunity in New Orleans for Mitch Trubisky.
That was my next.
I'm gonna jump the gun on you.
Go, please take it away, because I like that. Do your thing.
I mean, to pair him in that offense, I think would be an ideal situation. I'm not entirely sure what that offensive situation will look like without Sean Payton, but again, with those weapons and the fact that it's a different situation for him, and it's pretty damn obvious that it was a coaching issue in Chicago, and there have been plenty of stories that have come out as well about that, just in terms of, Matt Nagy was just anti-Mitch from everything behind the scenes that we have seen.
Matt Nagy is anti-Chicago.
Yeah.
Fucking bum.
And honestly, even with what he learned in Buffalo, the question now becomes, obviously everybody's going to be pointing to the Giants as the spot for him to compete with Daniel Jones in that scenario.
It's that Spider-Man meme, right? Like where the two Spider-Mans are pointing at each other. It's like Mitch and Daniel, based on just the narrative and kind of how it's played out for them. It's sad. It's tough, but hey, I like the New Orleans setting myself, but I could see him if he does end up in New York, beating. It would be great, man. It'd be kind of cool to see, and have him kind of resurrect his career better than he had in Chicago.
Absolutely. But you mentioned some of these names here. You mentioned Derek Carr. He's got Josh McDaniels as his new coach out in Sin City. So that's too low, in your opinion, that he should be at 20? Where should he be at?
I see him better than Tua. I see him better than Trevor Lawrence, even Mac Jones for that matter, I just think Derek Carr he's a silent killer, man. He's a guy that just kind of puts in the work. He was a streaming guy for me this year in a couple of leagues where I won some big games because of Derek Carr. And I don't think I would have won them with the other dudes we're talking about here. And to that point, just a little surprised by Carr. Him and Trey Lance are the two dudes where I just think they're not that they should be flipped, but I just think they should be more closer together in terms of rankings for anything. I don't even think Lance should be in the top 30, but
wow.
Yeah, fuck. That's just one of those. It's like Trey Sermon at the beginning of last year. It's like he's that guy that everyone's fallen in love with, and it's same Niners guy. I don't know if they got a fucking guy that pumps the fucking rumors out there and gets stokes all these flames, but I don't know. I'm not buying it. It's just tough for me. Sorry, I'm beating a dead horse at this point.
Well, it's that rushing upside scenario again that a lot of people want to jump on in that train, and maybe he brings up the type of Jalen Hurts action that we saw in Philadelphia. Maybe not. I'm with you though. Is like you talk about the raw ability of Trey Lance and just where he's at in his development as an NFL starting quarterback. I'm not sure if he's there either. I'm not sure if he'll ever get there, honestly, just based on some of the things that we heard Kyle Shanahan say over the course of the season, and even starting in that game against the Texans towards the end of the year as well. The confidence just didn't seem there. It actually kind of reminded me a bit about the Jordan Love situation with the Packers, where it's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, we got him. Like he's practicing, but no, like there's nothing there.
He can run fast. Like,
yeah, I mean,
cool.
There's not a lot there. And the fact that, Jimmy G more or less getting Das Boot out of town, takes you to another deep playoff run here on the doorstep of another Super Bowl. And you're just like, peace, we don't need you anymore. It's like, you want to talk about, quarterback wins don't matter. And yes, you can argue that all day. I'll agree with you to an extent. But the fact is, he still got it done as a quarterback in the NFL, and that's saying something for as difficult as that is. It's one of those things. I'd put Trey probably early 20s, like that 21 to 23 area.
Okay,
I think that's a fair number.
Do you think Carr is appropriately ranked on
the? You mentioned Tua specifically. I'd put Derek Carr ahead of Tua. Ryan Tannehill is that enigma that I'm really trying to wrap my head around, because you saw what he could do 2 years ago. Everybody thought he was just going to be leaps and bounds better this year with Julio Jones. That went absolutely nowhere. And here you are back to kind of a mediocrity that you expected out of him when he was with his rookie contract with the Dolphins a few years back. And so I'd probably even put Derek Carr neck and neck with Tannehill, but I think, 17 is probably the best I'd be willing to rank Carr, just because, again, you look at the offensive side of the ball there too, just how much he has in terms of weapons around him there, and it's not much. I mean, I think they lost a first-round wide receiver. albeit he was a piece of shit and killed somebody. But the fact of the matter is, Hunter Renfrow ain't going to get it done from a fantasy perspective in Vegas. And so the question becomes, are the Raiders going to return to the top of the draft board in the first round and select the best wide receiver? Are they going to, hop into free agency and say, okay, we need to get a guy? They're sitting around 21 million in cap space right now with 50 players signed. So really, they've got some room, given the fact that they don't necessarily need to, worry about signing too many guys. So I don't know. I've always liked Derek Carr. He's always just kind of been that guy who's there when you need to plug him in.
Yeah, he's a plug and play. Yeah,
and my question is, what does Josh McDaniels do with him? And I guess does I saw another comment earlier in the chat. Does Josh McDaniels back out of the job like he did with the Colts a couple of years ago? Who the hell?
It was funny.
Knows
they didn't release the Twitter thing until he was in the building. Like they literally waited to make the announcement until he was there. I thought that was pretty funny.
Lock him in a room.
Yeah, that motherfucker's in the building. He's got silver. He's got a silver tie on with a black suit. Yeah, we'll take that picture and we'll put it up now. We're good. Yeah.
Oh
yeah, but that's I just thought Derek Carr kind of got a shit draw here, but
yeah.
Still, there's like Davis Mills, I think on their list was like 33. He had the Sam Darnold was ahead of him, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Teddy Bridgewater, fucking Taysom Hill, Jared fucking Goff at 28. Daniel Jones is better than Jared Goff in their opinion.
I can kind of see it just with, again, the rushing upside and the fact that it's Detroit, and God knows what Detroit is going to do in the draft if they really do view Goff as just a stopgap option. In Detroit, maybe they go up and grab a quarterback and probably overdraft a quarterback based on the way that these guys are currently being evaluated for the draft. But Davis Mills, he's another one that's kind of a curious case, because if Deshaun Watson does end up returning to Houston, and again, currently ranked quarterback 13 after not playing for an entire year, if he does get traded, I don't know who would touch him at this point, given the fact that his attorney is now trying to basically say that all of these women knew that he wanted this to happen when he went in for his massages. And
that's always what you want. So he's just picking up basically saying they're hookers. Like he was high, is that what he was saying?
It seemed that way.
That's fucking good. Good counsel.
But
it's like that 3-card Monty fucking moving the shit around, and it's like, you stupid. I mean, dude, come on. I honestly, and I'm just going to interject, Stephen. I thought Flores was going to get the Texans job, and I thought, Pep Hamilton stayed in Houston. I think that's great for Davis Mills, and he arguably had the second best rookie season for quarterbacks this year. Mac Jones and Davis Mills, and then maybe Justin Fields at third. Granted, Fields probably had the most top 10 fantasy point finishes out of those three. But
still, I mean, it was amazing to see what Davis Mills did on what you could argue was
Flores is never going to coach again, but unfortunately,
I mean, he burned every bridge, and
it's fucked up. But I just, I think that the guy that I think that's going to buy the Broncos, he's one of the richest men in America. He's a young black entrepreneur. I think it'd be great if he was able to buy the Broncos and show that it'd be the second minority owner in the NFL, kind of break up the old boys club, if you will. And it's a start, and it's only 2 out of 32. But with all that being said, I was surprised with Flores not getting one of the jobs, and then with the bombshell of the lawsuit and everything that came out today, I don't see him.
There might be another NFL team up for sale very soon if that Miami report is true about the bribery.
I was just gonna say, fucking. Stephen Ross, ruining the integrity of the league by paying, 100,000 extra. How many games did they lose that year? 12? Were they 4 and 12?
Yeah, they were 5. They were 5 and 11.
5 and 11.
Yeah, the good old days of 16 games.
They made 1.1 mil on the side cash. Sweet.
Yeah. So to think that is a potential thing out there. That's a
Well,
whoo boy. That's a whole nother situation. But yeah, it's to see what Davis Mills has done. I would love to see him get a shot as a starter.
Yeah.
I just
we were
don't
high on him at
necessarily know.
TTNL too, by the way, just so you know. Barlissimo, Shane, and Phil, or when they're breaking down the quarterbacks, they love Davis Mills. So it's just nice to see him kind of get that opportunity and make the best of it. You want to see how with any of these kids when they get that shot in the NFL, it's just to really make the most of it. So it's good for him. And if this is true with Deshaun, how could he play next year? I mean, I guess getting hooker or prostitutes isn't against the law, but maybe it is in Florida. I mean, fucking everything else is legal.
I say, where do you live where it's legal?
Well, Vegas, it's legal. Shit.
Yeah, fair. All right.
Pretty much legal. The old rubbing tugs. I mean, shit. If you ever watch Stephen will do it or whatever, those dudes on the internet, they go get those handies and the whole nine, man. They're fucking wild, dude. It's like common knowledge. I guess Deshaun is cool with all that shit. Apparently you and I are not in that know, Stephen. Unless there's something we don't know about you that you're kind of keeping on wraps because we're on a live internet show right now. So,
I think that's all that needs to be said on that topic.
Yeah. Well, I like Cliff's line. Below us. Prostitutes are a lot cheaper than masseuses.
I speak from experience. No.
We'll cut that. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I think the main takeaway, just kind of talking through all this though, again, it's a deep class. I think that there could be the argument that there are 15 solid startable quarterbacks in the fantasy space in 2022 if things work out the way that they potentially could. And again, that's with some younger guys making the jump. And then again, we could see some serious leaps depending on how certain situations play out. Like we mentioned, Aaron Rodgers, if he ends up going somewhere outside of Green Bay to a Denver, hell, if he even goes to Tampa, now that that's on the table with Tom Brady out, that could potentially throw Aaron Rodgers into a top 3 argument just based on putting those weapons around him. And what they'd be able to do. I mean, think about Aaron Rodgers with a Cortland Sutton, a Jerry Jeudy, Javonte Williams, Noah Fant offense. Like, look out. Yeah. Look out. That'd be a force to be reckoned
he's worked with forever with Hackett. That's just a match made in heaven, man. That's a good call. I don't know. I think Tampa, if he was to go to Tampa, they would have, they re-sign Godwin, they'd have to make some decisions there. And I think you bring up a good point as we looked at the quarterbacks, right? Finding these options for the pairings, the stackable moves, if you're looking at it from a roster perspective, so I was looking to segue from the quarterbacks to let's pick a position group. Free agencies. Let's just do wide receivers for right now. So we're talking about them, right? And so the list of free agents for wide receivers, it's the best list for free agents we've had in a long time for wide receivers, in my opinion. I don't know if you would agree with me, but where do you see Devontae Adams? Say that Rodgers gets traded to Denver. Where would you see Devontae Adams land?
I want to see Devontae Adams in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert. And I kind of hinted at it earlier, but the fact that there is that much money sitting there for the Chargers to get that much better, and you have the opportunity to put an all-pro wide receiver and pair him with Justin Herbert, you do it. I don't care what it costs. They can afford it. They should do it. And I think that would be the number one landing spot, even from a fantasy perspective. And people can argue all day that Keenan Allen's there. They have Austin Eckler there. Somebody's going to get their fantasy value dinged. There have been plenty, and there have been plenty of scenarios in which quarterbacks have been able to sustain top 10, multiple top 10, top 15 wide receivers and running backs in offenses. Hell, you could even look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the points per game offenses that they were able to put up with Evans and Brown and Godwin when they were all healthy. It is very possible. and it's something that the Chargers definitely need to look at to really put that offense over the top. So I think that's for my perspective. And yes, I would love to see him in a Bears uniform. Do not get me wrong.
Yeah, they're not going to pay $30 million for a fucking wide receiver right now, though.
Yeah,
they're not. I mean, Poles kind of alluded to it. They'll go. I mean, there's guys out there that they can get, and we can talk about it. But I think that there's other plays. But I think I saw it in the chat too, because I think Carr and Adams played together in college, right? Actually, I'm asking that like you might know. I just threw that out. I saw someone write that in the chat. I took that as gospel. So if he's right in the chat, and I didn't research it, but I could see him going to Vegas. Giving
really.
Well, why not? I mean, they got what? Do you have their cap situation in front of you?
Cap situation for the Las Vegas Raiders. They have $21 million. They could probably do it.
Yeah, move some money around, make some changes, restructure some deals.
Bonus. You're good to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Fresno State. To answer your question, you are.
Thank you, Cairo. I knew someone put it out there. Appreciate it. Thank you, man. But so we had Devontae Adams, wide receiver 1. Free agent number 1, I think, in terms of this year. I think arguably he is the top of the class for all NFL free agents, let alone fantasy. And I think that there's some guys, though, like Chris Godwin, coming off an injury. He tore his ACL in December, right? Isn't that what happened?
End of November, early December, yeah.
26 years old, still got and coming back from a knee injury nowadays is a lot different. I mean, AP came back after like 3 days and rushed for like 250 yards.
Yeah.
And so, but from there, I think the tier kind of drops a little bit, but there's still such value. I mean, you got Odell Beckham, Mike Williams, and a sleeper this year that I think got a bum rap, Juju Smith-Schuster. 26 years old. Get him. I think just he needs a change of scenery. I think getting him out of Pittsburgh would be the best thing for him. And he's not going to command a ton of money just because the performance in terms of reliability with the health issues. I think you may be able to get him on the cheap if you're a team that's looking for a receiver. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's it really just kind of an interesting cluster list here to go along with him.
Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, you got Allen Robinson, but then you have other guys that are that you kind of along the lines of that same injury situation as well. DJ Chark, Michael Gallup, who just tore his ACL, and so man, I don't know how much more of a discount, because like you mentioned, things have evolved so much to the point where for these injuries that have happened to these guys, it's not as much of a death sentence as it used to be. I mean, you can even go back to the A-Rob contract when he signed with the Bears after he tore his ACL down in Jacksonville. Yeah, they got him at a discount then. I think if that same injury happened last year, there would not be a discount. Based on some of the way that the science has worked. And again, the way that the cap, after going down this last year is now going to vault up, and now we're going to get this TV money, and it's going to start growing at a very significant rate. That there's going to be teams kind of similar to when the NBA.
I think the bottom is what, 208 million is the projected the minimum cap, and it could go anywhere from to 232. I thought I read somewhere it could be some astronomical number, or has that been solidified yet?
I don't know if it's been confirmed. I think there's a couple more weeks until it does get confirmed
officially when the season's over.
Right. And that's one of the things that a lot of these teams obviously have in mind is like, hey, we can give this guy a big signing bonus right now and make that first year $2 million against the cap. Spread it out. Here's $4 million this year, $4 million next year, $4 million the year after that, not have to worry about it. But I think this is going to be a lot like when the NBA kind of exploded with their contract situation, and it's just kind of like this perfect storm after all these teams had to cut back and complain, we had to make all these cuts because the revenue wasn't as good as it was. That's not going to be the case this year. Guys like Chris Godwin, part of me wants to say that he's going to be back in Tampa, but I don't know.
I don't know if they're going to invest that money unless they can get a big quarterback. I mean, Kyle Trask, you're going to roll out.
Let's go.
I mean, they drafted him for a reason. You know, he got to play with Brady for a year, right? He was a rookie this year, you know, so right. He was got to learn some things, and you know, he talked very high. You know, Brady actually thought that Trask had some skills, and there's some strengths there, but obviously, you know, it's a big it's a big drop off, you know, and to that point, I don't know.
Like I'm just trying to think of another landing spot for him, and it's a struggle for me. I think there's one team that a lot of people just aren't thinking about as a possibility. That's the Indianapolis Colts with Godwin. T.Y. Hilton is a free agent again. Obviously he's on his last leg. He's been on his last leg. They need another wide receiver to pair with Michael Pittman, and whatever they have in Carson Wentz. I don't know what that is, but the fact of the matter is that offense needs some passing help, and Godwin could potentially make that a possibility there. And they're sitting here, they've got 52 guys signed and 37 million in cap space.
What about Allen Robinson?
Oh man, I hate saying this.
Don't say he's going to resign with Chicago.
No, I'm not. He's not going to resign with Chicago. I think he's going to Green Bay. There's just something about me.
Go over there, play with Jordan Love.
It feels like he's just going to spite the Bears and go to the hated rival. It just feels to me like that type of situation that he would do that. And I hope I'm wrong. I don't know. I still don't know what to make of his 2021 season. It makes zero sense what he was able to do on the field, or what I guess he didn't do on the field.
Well, I guess according to him, it sounds like Matt Nagy kind of just blew him off too, like Mitchell Trubisky, and kind of put him on the back burner, and he wasn't like a focal point of the offense. I just thought that was conjecture by like his agent or whatever to try to spin the narrative. But you know, I just,
it worked for Mitch. It'll work for me.
But, you know, and we talk about free agents, and there's just like a couple of guys too, though, that I think could be casualties based on their salaries. You know, like a guy like Michael Thomas, Amari Cooper, Robert Woods. You know, obviously Julio Jones is garbage, and he's 33, and just he's been amazing. It's just he's 33 and he's been in the league a long time. But Jarvis Landry, he's 29 years old. He could be cut, saving $15 million if they do cut him. And then, you know, we talk about Cole Beasley, but he's an older cat too. He's 33, but you cut him, you're saving, I think, almost like $6 million or whatever. You know, so there's definitely some guys that you could see moved, just that, you know, just based on their salary casualties, due to the cap casualty. Sorry. You know, even though there is that big influx of money coming from the TV deal, you could still see teams looking to try to, you know, allocate funds in other areas, and especially like, you know, you speak of like the Saints, you know, and what are they going to do at quarterback? Are they going to roll out with Taysom Hill again? Is he going to get his $40 million guaranteed money at that contract they signed him to, 4 years, $160 million? You know,
I just want to know what they're going to do about just trying to get under the cap. I think with Michael Thomas, I'm trying to look at his details here. So he would be 22
they saved 16 million.
Okay. So 16 million.
Cut him post June 1st.
Okay, so post June 1st, because here's the thing about the Saints, and it blows my mind. They continue to do this every year. They are 76 million over the cap as of right now. $76 million. How? I don't know.
But give Taysom Hill $40 million. Taysom Hill $40 million or whatever.
That's like half of their cap right there. So they're going to cut him. He's not coming back. Obviously, he's not coming back because they're going to sign Mitch Trubisky to a 1-year, $5 million deal, and he's going to lead him to the NFC South title because the rest of that division sucks.
Here you go, Alvin.
Nevertheless.
Here you go, Alvin.
You know, Michael Thomas is a curious name. I would love to see him bounce back and do what he was able to do with Drew Brees. I just don't know. I mean, he's getting up there in age too. I just don't know if he still has it in him. But some of the other guys a little bit further down the list, you mentioned Mike Williams, and we talked about him a little bit earlier as well. A really hot start to the season, and then just kind of disappeared and had his like one catch for 9-yard games pop up here and there. That's another guy where, he's probably going to get his bag.
Yeah. He's 29 or 28 years old. He'll be 29 when the season starts, I think. I mean,
I mean, from the perspective that he, can bring that field stretching ability to a team. Don't know about the consistency of it. I'm trying to think of, some spots that may make sense to really, put that talent to use. And the two spots that make sense to me from that regard are the Patriots and the Bills.
Ooh,
Kendrick Bourne, he did a fair amount in that offense with the Patriots, and we know that big name wide receivers don't necessarily always work out in New England, but we talked about some of the other pieces to the passing game for the Bills, specifically your Emmanuel Sanders, your Cole Beasleys, that they're going to have to fill out that roster. Yeah, you can argue that Gabe Davis is that guy there, but the fact that you can get this tall, athletic wide receiver that you can also use as a big red zone target to pair up against Stephon Diggs, who is again another good red zone target, that I think that would definitely benefit what Josh Allen brings to the table, and then on the flip side of that, also help out what Mike Williams could potentially do, maybe a little bit more consistency to what he does as well. Okay,
I like that. I think that's a good call. I was surprised I said New England at first, and then when you broke it down like that, I could see that. That wouldn't be a bad play. Belichick has shown he's not afraid to spend some money. Last free agency, he went off. Granted, they only have, I think they have $7 million in cap space
because they forever signed Jonnu Smith and then don't use him.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy.
The pain.
No, but speaking of Alan Lazard and MSV are free agents. Will Fuller. There's some guys out there, some value there. Do I think that it's gonna equate to some big fantasy numbers? There's a couple dudes, that may benefit. But I really think the names that we've talked about are the names that are going to really have an impact and where they land. Obviously, they're at the top of the list for a reason. And I think this is a lot of them are coming on their first real opportunity at free agency. And they're going to try to make the best situation for their success. Obviously money is a key thing, but I think you see guys, everybody wants to get a ring now, man. It's so hard to do in the NFL. I think Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, who's the other guy that went to a different team and won? I'm forgetting, but like these guys, that's why I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go somewhere else. You're going to see these guys on their second, like Russell Wilson. I could see him looking to go somewhere else too and look for a change of scenery. I'm not, granted, maybe not this year, but next year. I think he's actually going to be a free agent next year, or he's going to be able to be one. In terms of no guaranteed money, I forget. I was going to look that up before we started talking about it, but. Didn't do that. So
hey, I mean, there were enough rumors about him getting traded last year. Why not have another round of it?
Sidebar, right? Yeah. That trade, 3 first rounds and Roquan Smith, right?
Something like that.
Okay. So then you see the deal: Justin Fields, Roquan Smith, and 2 first rounds and a second round. It's almost the same deal, but it's like back then you were like, oh, let's get Russell Wilson. Now we're like, fuck no. So anyway, sorry.
I don't want a collapse in the second half of the season for my quarterback and
Mr. Unlimited.
Yeah. Oh,
and that would my CR being at the games, but whatever. Just saying.
But
is there any other free agents or wide receivers? Anybody that you think,
we've talked about a couple of the more of the value plays. I don't know if Juju is that guy for you, but really, the guy that might fly under the radar that will provide the most value based on the contract. Is Juju that guy for you, or is there another guy where you say, like, whoever ends up signing him is going to get a damn good deal and definitely get a solid ROI?
So I think two things. One, I like Schuster. I think, minus the TikTok bullshit and the stuff from before, he tried to come back early with the shoulder injury. Didn't look the same in the playoffs. I think that he was just trying to, let's win one for the Gipper. It's been last year. Let's try to go, bet last game. I'm going to go try to give it my all for the team, which you'd want to see out of your star receivers when it comes time for crunch time is like, look, are you injured or you're hurt? Can you go out there and do it or what? To that point though, I think DJ Chark could be a big time sleeper. I've always liked him. I just, he's been buried in Jacksonville. It's like Allen Robinson before, when he put up those numbers, when he was there, then he got hurt, goes to Chicago, and he continues to do well, granted until this year. I could see him kind of having a season, if he gets to, he's a guy that could go to a team, that they have that need for, they don't have a ton of cap space because he's not going to command a lot of money due to the fact that he's just got that injury history. And so from New England's perspective, he's a guy that I could see Belichick scooping up and trying to, or the Colts. I'm picking some of the teams you use because I think that speaks to teams that are trying to allocate funds for other needs. But if you could get a guy like Shark, I mean, if he's healthy, he's a fucking hell of a player. But you asked me about Schuster, and I'm just going to tell you, long answer, short answer. I think he's going to be a guy that it's going to have a good year next year, wherever he goes. I think he's going to be a commodity due to the fact that he's still young. He's 26.
Oh, he's very young.
So it's like, that's out of all the free agents, he's one of the youngest. Michael Gallup's 26. I'm just trying to see here. Gallup's 26. Shark, Kirk's 20. He's going to be 26 when the season starts. Jacoby Myers is 26. So, and Godwin, he's a young buck too. He's 26 too. So, there's 4 or 5 guys, all in that. And that's a good thing, when you still have it, because the life in the NFL of an NFL player is not, the life expectancy of an NFL player isn't that long. Right?
I think the average is 4 years. I think that's what it comes out to these years. But
Chicago for Shark, why not? He's a guy could, he's Allen Robinson 2.0, and he's not going to cost the money, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, if you gave me the option of guys coming off an injury that could potentially be targets for the Bears, and you said it was down to DJ Chark and Michael Gallup, I'd probably lean Gallup. Okay. There's something about and I think you saw it in after he came back, and he's got a little bit more injury proneness. Oh God!
Thank you, Cairo. I need that.
Every league needs a villain, and that just raising the bar.
The super friends
if that were to happen.
The super asshole.
Yes.
Anyway.
But yes, Gallup comes with a little bit more of an injury history, but you saw what he did to that Cowboys offense when he came back on the field, and just how much he opened up the game for the rest of that offense. I think, being able to showcase his skills on a team without necessarily having to fight for targets and more or less playing time with, these alpha wide receivers like your Amari Coopers and your CD Lambs, that he'll be able to show off some pretty solid athleticism in plays. It's just a matter of how well he bounces back from that knee injury. But again, like we mentioned, it's not what it used to be in terms of, how back to normal these players get from these injuries. So from a buy low perspective, like a 2-year $15 million deal, like I'd do that any day for a Michael Gallup if I'm Ryan Poles to try and get that wide receiver room put together. And like we mentioned last week, get into the draft, pick up a guy in the second round, really fill out that roster in the wide receiver room and get things rolling for Justin Fields and give him some protection on the line as well, which we obviously know is going to happen. So, just a matter of time. Just got to be patient.
It's crazy, man. All this excitement, you know what I mean? Like with Poles and Eberflus and, the whole fucking Harbaugh thing kind of playing itself out and people getting their all bent out of shape and everything. It's just I like what I heard in the press conference. We had two guys that aren't used to being in front of the microphone and camera, and I thought as they spoke, they even just got more comfortable. I mean, granted, Poles drank like 12 bottles of water, and he had to probably piss like a motherfucker. But at the same time,
whatever it takes.
Yeah, hey, he's an old lineman, man. You do what you got to do to win, baby. And if you got to poke an eye or punch someone in the nuts or whatever, hey, do what you got to do, and that's why I want running the Bears. And that's why we're going in the right direction, and I just, I think we're going to go out and get a wide receiver. We need a weapon. We need somebody. We got Monty. So it's like, get Fields somebody, whether it's through the draft or go after one of these young free agents, or if you can pull a trade off. I mean, who knows? We have no idea. And they were very non-committal to all the players outside of bringing Fields up. For the press conference. I think anyone is potentially could be on the table for a new regime. Why wouldn't it be? Anything's possible. I know that's not really fantasy related, but it's Chicago Bears related. That's just how I feel about the situation. And Poles, we trust, my man.
Yep, and he's built. They're getting one hell of a staff built at Hallis Hall as well. Still far from over in terms of how that's all going to come together, but everything seems to be on the right track. Bringing in a lot of smart football minds and a lot of first-time guys at specific position as well. So it's just a matter of just having the wait and see attitude and put it all together. We're going to see things a lot different, I think, than what we saw in the last regime and even the regime before that with the way that they built the team. Maybe even stock up some draft picks instead of trading them as soon as they hit the pocket like a hot potato.
Fucking burning a hole in your Pace's pocket, man. It's like me, when you were a kid getting like your fucking birthday checks and your, and your card from like your grandmother. You're like, oh shit, $40, sweet. And like, I gotta go to the store and buy fucking baseball stars for Nintendo, man. Back in the day, it was like, or Tecmo Bowl, man, whatever. Sorry, but yeah, man, I'm excited. It's just cool to be a Bears fan. It's like we fucking have just dealt with so much bullshit and heartache, and I can't. I know I've brought up Harbaugh's name 3 times, and this is probably the last time I'm going to do it, but like. I'm going to
hold you to that.
Please do, because I want that narrative to go away, because I think that, I think we got the guy, man, for the job, and I think in Flus we trust along with Poles, and I think it's exciting times. And I know tomorrow night at 8:30, bringing Catman on to talk about the press conference and everything with Steve, with not Steve Cap, with David Kaplan, holy shit. And, with Shane, Phil, Cars, I'm sure, Claudio, Cherie, Caden, Stephen, if he shows up to hit the button. I'll be in the background, probably getting made fun of for shit, but whatever. But it's a new day, as Cliff just said, as I see the comment down below. It is something to be happy about, man. And so to that point, I'm gonna end it there. I'm just extremely excited. I know we talked about quarterbacks and receivers, and we were going to talk about quarterbacks and all the free agents, but that's how we do, man. We just start going, and my ass starts rambling, and then next thing you know, we're on for an hour and 15 minutes, brother.
There's plenty of time to talk about everything going on this offseason, free agency and draft included. We'll be here to break it all down all offseason as it pertains to the fantasy world, and then obviously sprinkling in some Bears chat along the way, because obviously we're here to talk some Bears.
You got the shirt, the hat. I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah, we're all put together, plugging it all in one at a time here. But tomorrow night, like you mentioned, keeping it 100 with Phil and Shane, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central on Tape Never Lies Network and ShyCitySports.com, social channels and YouTube. So do check that out with everything going on. Like Jackal mentioned, you have David Kaplan coming on ESPN 1000 and NBC Sports Chicago to talk all things presser from Monday with polls and Eberflus. Das Flus.
I like
heading to Chicago.
You said Das Flus, Das Boot. You know, what are you, fucking German over there, Mr. Johnson? What's going on?
Taking back the North. Taking back the
love
North.
It. I fucking love
but
it, man.
We'll be back next Tuesday night, same time, same place, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, to talk some more fantasy and the fallout that will be coming this offseason across the league and what to expect as we enter the draft period of the offseason as well. So thank you all for watching this evening. For Chris Jackle, I'm Stephen Johnson. Enjoy the rest of the week, the off week, Pro Bowl skills competition.
Man. Enjoy. Hey, spend time with your family, get it all in, do a little extra couple shifts with the wife or the kids, because next Sunday, if you're not, it's a fucking great game.
Bengals Rams, yes.
Fucking Bengals. Carr's the Bengals fan. I love it. Brought him the fucking first Super Bowl appearance. Becomes a fan this year, halfway through the year. Next thing you know, they win the Super Bowl. He said, hey, I'm going to be a Bears fan again, and now we're going to make Super Bowl next year. So, hey, there we go. I'm just kidding, Cars. I love you. But, dude, Steven, great show, man. I appreciate everything, man. Everyone stay safe. There's like a fucking storm covering the entire America. Dropping like 2 feet of snow, depending on where you live. We're going to get it Friday. Steven's getting it tomorrow. So stay safe out there, everybody. Until then, be a friend, tell a friend, reach out to people you haven't talked to in a while, and, take care and stay safe. I said that twice.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care,
guys.